This time on the show, Alex Lynd joins us for a little hacking with printers. And Dade drops by to make some bits go to another place with foo. All that and more this time on Hak5. Hello and welcome to Hak5. My name's Darren Kitchen, and on this dose of Technolust, we're joined by none other than Alex Lynd. Dude!
What's up, Darren? How's it going?
It's awesome, man. It's good to see you.
You too. It's been a minute.
It has. I haven't seen you since DEF CON in Vegas, and now we're in Austin, Texas.
Right. Did you ever see the interview that I published?
I did.
Sweet. I have to fix the audio levels, to be honest.
Yeah, it's a really fun one. If you haven't, I'll link in the description. We got to really get into like a lot of the more nuanced stuff.
Oh yeah. We need to do another one this year.
Definitely.
It's the 20th.
Well, maybe we can do something since you're in town.
Right.
Kicking it old school. We've literally just been hanging out at the new Hak5 studio, hacking. And I got to say, something really cool caught our eye because at the date of filming this in the last month or so, a CVE, dropped, including an RCE.
Right. Cups.
Remote code execution.
Cups. Yes.
On
it's
cups.
A beautiful one. It's
right?
not every, right.
You can exploit. There we go. Exploit the cups.
It's not every day that you get one this easy too. This one's pretty interesting. Do we want to?
Yeah. Let's dive right into it because, so CUPS stands for Common Unix Printing Service. Printing system. Yeah, it's been around since the 90s. From what I understand, Apple has taken over it at a certain point. Maintaining source code. It's an open source. Awesome system for printing to network printers and other things.
Yep. I've got a little thermal printer that I use for fulfillment, and I notice it's quite nice that it'll just automatically join once I'm online.
Dymo, Zebra,
it's
off-brand.
I think it starts with a Z, I forget.
Oh, it probably is a Zebra. Zebra makes some of the best thermal label printers ever. Sorry, now we're getting really into the weeds because I do a lot of fulfillment stuff. Yeah, so I actually have one of those like right here for that exact thing. The big old 4x6 printing labels, not what you're here for, but perfect example of a printer that does speak cups.
Rollo, that's what it is.
Okay, there we go. All right, if you're looking for recommendations, we'll leave links to those as well. But onto the hacks, the malicious element of this is that an attacker on the same network as Linux boxes that speak cups may be able to exploit them. They may be vulnerable to an attack chain that leads up to remote code execution, which is kind of crazy to think. Now there are some hoops to jump through and steps involved in this process, but it's pretty cool nonetheless.
The rundown is pretty much, as far as I understand it at least, different printers have different formats of some sort or different attributes that they might be expecting because, different page sizes or there's different formats that you can print in.
Yeah, the HP over there in the closet is a monochrome laser. The Brother is a color laser, so it's going to want totally different kinds of files. The Zebra printer, the thermal one I mentioned, it uses 4x6, potentially 4x6 labels, so all those attributes need to be communicated somehow.
Yep. So those can be communicated through an attribute file. I forget exactly what it is. I think it might be PPD or something similar.
Yeah, so IPP or Internet Printing Protocol is one of the things that just the real high level on cups here is that it runs on your computer, right? Linux boxes here are, I guess, like Unix-based boxes, hence Apple using it as well. And it listens on port 631, both on TCP and UDP. So on the TCP side, we're mainly talking about actually managing print jobs, sending print jobs, or even a web interface, which you can optionally set up, and I've done that before to set up printers. It's kind of nice. But then on the UDP side, on 631, it's going to be using that for discovery. So that's kind of nice because things have gotten a lot easier in this day and age to adding printers when you can just scan the network and say like, oh, what's speaking this protocol, and then be like, cool, let's add that. And so for convenience, all of these computers that are running cups may be listening on UDP 631, and if they receive a advertisement of a printer, kind of like how you would maybe receive an advertisement of a nearby Wi-Fi access point, you could then go and query it and say, oh, interesting, access point, what encryptions do you use, and what channels do you communicate on?
What
and
commands would you like me to execute?
Exactly. Inadvertently, yeah. So that's what this is so if a evil printer were to exist, advertising itself to all of those computers listening on UDP 631 or otherwise over DNS, then they could say like, hey, I'm a printer, and then interested computers might query them and say, can I get your, they'll literally send a post saying get printer attributes. And in response to the get printer attributes query, the malicious printer could then literally say, oh yeah, so here are all the page sizes I support and colors and all the fun stuff. Oh, and by the way, I support this thing called Fumatic.
What the hell is Fumatic?
I didn't know either. It turns out it's another open source printing system, and it deals with all of the weird binary nuances of some different printers. And so one of the things that it includes are these filters, and there's a command set here called the Fumatic RIP command line.
RIP might as well stand for rest in peace.
In this case,
if your computer's exposed...
Yeah, exactly, because it's literally saying, oh, you support this thing called Fumatic RIP command line? So what's the command line? And so, you might imagine echo foobar or rm tac rf / and then it'll be like, cool, I'll add that to my attribute file about that printer.
Yep. The fun thing is this basically boils down to a sanitation issue. So I think there's a range of different attributes that are vulnerable. I don't remember the exact ones, but if you inject a command that can be executed on bash and you precede it with a double quote, it'll finish parsing right there and then execute that arbitrary command of your choice.
I mean, it feels like 20 years later we're still talking about sanitizing input. It was in the early web that people would have input fields on their like little PHP application, and they didn't think like, oh, but then a naughty human, could be like, yeah, my username is Joe, quotation marks, semicolon, drop tables.
Bobby drop tables.
Yeah, like good old Johnny drop tables.
Yep.
And so it's not just human input that we need to think about sanitizing as, security-minded software engineers, but it's also those devices that might be malicious. So in this case, you're probably like, oh, okay, so where do I buy this like evil printer? It's probably not going to come from like Xerox or HP.
No, it's a piece of software that's actually just packaged into a lot of Linux distros. So Ubuntu has it out of the box. I'm sure most Linux distributions do. As far as like widespread concern, I haven't looked into it, but like enterprise solutions, there's like Red Hat Enterprise. There's a good chance that some corporations might have this on their Linux systems.
And of course, you would never have all that exposed to the internet unless, of course, you queried Shodan and you find out that people did. Kind of like with WannaCry, and it's like nobody would expose SMB to the internet. Oh, they exposed it to and then they got crypto locked. So the interesting thing here is that we can actually do a little demo of exactly this, because of course as soon as this CVE drops, then everybody goes, oh, I can write some proof of concept Python, and that's exactly what Rick DeJager did exactly with this proof of concept in Python called Cups Hacks.
Woo!
Great name.
Straight into the point.
Straight into the point, yeah.
We also had some fun with this, along with some of the other proof of concepts we tried out, because they tried to obscure it a little bit, so non-hackers can't run the Python code.
I mean, as you should, right? You can't just put it right out there. You got to at least jump through like a hoop or two and learn your Python. In any event, we actually have that running on this little box right here. So tell me about this app, because I actually haven't run this yet. What is it doing?
All right, cupshacks.py. It's pretty simple. It accepts a couple parameters. This is using a couple dependencies to basically act as an IPP server. So this is just spinning up a printer, a supposed printer called Pinter. We've provided it with the command to inject. In this case, it's using the ID command and just dumping that to the local directory.
So this part right here is actually what would get executed by the victim? Okay, cool. Yeah, All right.
And ID just has a couple attributes. It's like the user ID and some other useful Linux stuff. And then the IP address that we actually want to host our printer on. So this is just the local IP address of this machine, actually.
Right. This was kind of a fun one because I was like, oh, let's just test it on the homeland because why not, right? And in doing so, actually, on this Mac right here, you can actually see. Wait, what did you name it?
That's my second test. I'm running. I'm also running it on this box.
Okay, cool. Yeah, you can see on this box right here, just in the Add a Printer dialog, you get BOGO Binter. Is it buy one get one?
No, it's like photo printer, but it's BOGO Binter.
Oh, BOGO Binter. Cool. Okay, so you've now spoofed a printer. Just
see what I mean? You have to have different printer types for different purposes. So we've got our BOGO Binter for binning BOGOs.
For binning,
and then for
better binters.
Yeah, for your regular binting, you've got the Binter.
Yeah, as it should be. I will say that as soon as we did that, and I see this like pop up in the Add Printer dialog on my Mac, I'm like, okay, kind of obvious considering, hey, TIL, Apple maintains the source code for cups on Mac OS. That's pretty cool. Well, it got me thinking like, all right, well, aside from, my Mac, obviously, what other devices might be on my network that actually, could be susceptible to this attack? And that's what led me to this fun little guy. 3, 2, 1. Gonna do a quick.
Ooh, I like that. Does it save the baud rate and all that fun stuff?
Yeah, it does.
Oh, that's nice.
Oops. You know what? We can. Oh gosh. Oh, Apple window management. You're the worst. Okay. You know what? I will bring this over to. There we go. Because now it's like right next to us. All right. And 3, 2. And so I'm here on my SharkJack. Because why not? I want to scan my network. I might as well use my own dog food. And one of the fun payloads that we have right out of the gate on the SharkJack is a very simple nmap scanning utility. And so if I head over to /root payloads and then payload.sh, I've already modified this. Essentially, the nmap options right here are typically TAC lowercase s capital P. It's just a very simple ping scan to see what devices are on your network. But by modifying this with TAC lowercase s capital U for UDP, and then specifying the port with TAC P, and in this case 631, I can now just go ahead and quit out a Vim and run this payload on my network. And when I do that, I'm going to end up with some loot here in the loot directory in my nmap directory, and you'll see I've run this a number of times. But if I actually just like cat my nmap scan number 11, ooh, and I'm going to grep for the word open. Okay, so you'll see that there are actually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
nice.
6 devices on my LAN that already had cups running. So let's go ahead and take a look at what those actually are. I'm going to go ahead and not just grep for open, but I'll do grep tac, I think it was B4 open. So this will show me 4 lines before the word open. And you can see that for each of these, I'm told what the IP address is, what the host name is, and then of course the fact that it's open. And so the one that really caught me off guard of all of the devices on my entire network that have cups running and are listening on port UDP 631, the 98S550G.LAN, right? And I'm pointing at it. I'm not just pointing at the entry, I'm pointing at it, the 98-inch television running Google TV.
The one that surprised me was the Black Magic. I did not know that had a Linux box inside of it. I figured FPGA, maybe.
Yeah.
Linux,
yeah, that's true.
Interesting.
Yeah, shout out to the Blackmagic ATEM. They make an awesome product, and it makes doing all of this, including this, Easy peasy, and then I can edit all the thingies in post, and I don't have to have little arcade buttons on the table. So, hooray.
Hey, free botnet. Thanks, Black Magic.
All right, cool. Well, you know what? There's a little bit more to this, and I'm really excited that you're here. I know that you and I and Gletch are going to do some mayhem in another episode, but I want to mention one other important thing about this attack when we get back right after this.
Have you ever been working on a cool project locally, such as this cool Hak5 website I've built, and you wanted to share it with a few friends online? If so, maybe you've used a tunneling tool like ngrok to set up a dev tunnel. Well, ngrok is perfectly functional. I wanted something I can host myself. Plus, the ngrok links feel a little impersonal, and while their free tier is perfectly functional, I like to avoid paying monthly fees for something I might only use a few times for a few minutes at a time. Plus, I have my own domain name already. I even have my own server too. Why can't I just use that? There are a lot of solutions out there, and resources like the awesome tunneling GitHub repo capture a ton of them. But I didn't know about that when I wanted to solve this problem, and a lot of options I found were pretty complicated for what I thought should be super simple. So let's roll our own temporary dev tunnel using nothing but the software we probably already have installed, Nginx and SSH. To get started, we're going to need to set up a wildcard DNS entry. I've already done this ahead of time by setting up an A record for star.dev.0xda.de. You can query any subdomain of dev.0xda.de and it will return the same IP address. For instance, we can dig foo-bar and we get this IP address, and we return, we dig foo, same thing. We can even dig for the star itself and we get the same thing. With our DNS entry set up, let's get started on the server configuration first. We're going to need to configure Nginx with this super simple Nginx server block. There are two important parts of the config. The first is the regex server name, and the other is our proxy pass destination. The regex server name allows us to match anything.dev.0xda.de with this server block, and the proxy pass utilizes the ability to pass traffic to a Unix domain socket, which we're going to create in a minute. We're also going to need a wildcard TLS certificate, which you can get from Let's Encrypt, but we're not going to cover that here. Next, we need to add a small bit of code to a lesser known config file called .sshRC. In this function, we are setting up a few things that allow the server to take actions when we SSH into it. It's kind of like bashrc, except for only for SSH connections. We're also going to abuse locale environment variable forwarding with our custom variable that contains the name of our dev tunnel. That's this lcgrok domain. Over on the client, we need two things. We need a super simple bash function to make our tunnel easy to use, and we need an application that we want to expose. We've already got the application that we want to expose. That's our sick new Hak5 web page running on localhost. So let's take a look at the function. We're going to cat local bin grok. Let's actually more. So in here we have a simple bash function. We define our top level domain as dev.0xda.de, so all of our tunnels are going to live under there. We have some simple error handling. We get our port and our name if it's provided. If it's not provided, we're going to just generate a random 12-digit hexadecimal string using OpenSSL. And then we're going to let you know that we are setting this up. So we export lcgrok domain of name.topleveldomain, and then we run an SSH command. We've got a few things in our SSH command here, but the really important things are the -o send env lcgrok domain, the -t, the -r, and then the reverse port forward that we're going to set up for our Unix socket domain. So we have temp lcgrok domain, and then a little random value that I added in because I didn't understand the security implications when I was building this. So I was like, well, let's just add like a salt, and then we're going to say if you get traffic to that, forward it to localhost and then the port that's provided. And then we just provide the echo hello because we need some way to, basically we're saying run this command and then the tunnel's going to stay open, so it just, holds it open forever. And then at the end, we just grok with our parameters and we can do a demo. So we grok 8080 And let's just call it Hak5. So it lets us know it's setting it up. And then we get a nice little thing that says you can visit this in your browser. And now we're on hak5.dev.0xda.de. And just like that, we have a functional dev tunnel. Does it have a few sharp edges? Absolutely. Does it always clean up after itself? Not a chance. Is it a fun hack? You betcha. You can learn more about it on my site in the description below.
Oh, hi. I didn't see you there. I was just working on my manuscript. Oh, it's a typewriter, you see. When it comes to needing a secure solution, I always use a typewriter for my documents because of that pesky Key Croc I invented. You see, the Key Croc plugs into a computer and a keyboard, and it sits in line sniffing the keystrokes, streaming them to the web so the attacker can view them in real time, and then allowing the attacker to inject keystrokes into the target at will, or using a payload that's triggered whenever the target types something of interest, using strings or regular expressions. Which is why I had to throw my computer away. If you'd like a secure solution, get a typewriter. Or a Key Croc at hak5.org. That just about wraps up this episode of Hak5, but before we get going, I did want to wrap up a few other little things about this cups RCE exploit, and that is patch. By the time you see this, this has already been patched in cups, but those patches aren't going to apply unless you apply those. Also, know that unless you've actually printed to one of these malicious printers, no evil commands have executed.
Keep in mind, it's the cups browser daemon, not the cups version that you have to update. Because cups is on like 2.6, 2.8 maybe. I was looking into that, but yeah, it's the daemon version like 2.0 or something like that.
I think it's 2.1. Yeah, but it was patched on October 17th from what I was reading in the changelog. So,
but if you're like me and you don't update your stuff that frequently, you're still on like 1 point whatever. So make sure to do that.
And
don't
also,
be complacent.
Maybe don't like expose UDP port 631 to the internet.
Yes, that'd be a good measure.
Yeah, although, I was thinking about, that important element to emphasize here is that in order for this, attack chain to work, right, all of these stars need to align, including the person actually printing to that printer.
Yep.
And with Linux boxes being the majority of the targets in this case, I thought, hey, I took it upon myself to just throw together a little bit of DuckyScript, just so in case you wanted to do a proof of concept for yourself. And I've made it easy with a little bit of, defines here, so you can, set your printer name as Binter, or I guess in this case now, Bogo Binter. So then that way that gets replaced down here after it detects when it's ready, opens up the run dialog on Linux, executes xterm, and then echoes whatever you wanted, foobar or hello world, and pipes it to LP TACD to your printer name. And Bob's your uncle. Very sick, simple DuckyScript for your proof of concept enjoyment there.
Or even simpler, you might fall victim to a social engineering attack. What if you have a Bogo Binter at home and you just see this other Bogo Binter? You might just, be inclined to print.
It could say Bogo Binter Color or Bogo Binter 2.
And you thought you got a free upgrade.
Oh my gosh. Now that I'm thinking about this, I could see this being kind of terrifying in co-working spaces and coffee shops where there's like Wi-Fi, where it's like, oh, there's a WPA key and like everybody's there, and then there's like printer, and it's like, it's not too uncommon to see like HP color printer parentheses 2 parentheses, and be like,
seriously.
oh, which one? Oh, no, never send it to HP printer. Always send it to HP printer 2.
Even with the printers that I use, they'll go offline sometimes, and I'll see a duplicate entry. I just won't think about it. I'll print a second time.
Yikes.
So
interesting to hear what you guys think in the comments, and Also, if you're a big fan, you need to follow Alex Lynd. Alex, where are you on the socials? What are you up to these days?
I'm less on Twitter these days, but you can still find some of my work there. I'm at Alex Lynd. Otherwise, you can check out my website, lyndlabs.io. Honestly, I've been working on a lot of just fun personal projects. One of them is completely useless. I got a hold of these tiny keys that they use in Stream Decks that have like the OLED and it's a little button.
Yeah, I know the ones, yeah.
So I'm working on an external monitor with a Raspberry Pi Pico. You interface it over USB-C. It acts as an external monitor, and it's also a Morse code keyboard, so you can type on the monitor, and it'll inject keystrokes into your computer. It's stupid. I'm just working on stuff like that. If you want to see it, you can go to lyndlabs.io. My YouTube's there, my Twitter's there. And yeah, thank you for having me, Darren.
Awesome, dude. It's great to have you on, as always. And thank you to you guys for sticking with us and tuning in. If you've been watching since 2005 or you just joined us, I'm just really excited to be heading into our 20-year anniversary on August 5th, 2025. Of course, big news on fun events therein and around that time to celebrate. But yeah, that's it. And so until next time, I'm Darren Kitchen.
I'm Alex Lynd.
Trust your technolust. You had to capture in real time over FireWire. So with 3 cameras that you would then slam sync. It took 9 hours just to get the footage on. Now it's just like drag and drop right after this. Hey?
Do you want to film the dry run anyways?
I always do.
Cool. Awesome.
You never know when you're like, shit, we should have just recorded that.
Right?
Yeah, one take wonders here.